In the Days of These Kings, the Book of Daniel in Preterist Perspective by J. Rogers. Audiobook Part 20. Part 1, The Prophecy of Daniel Explained. Daniel 9. Daniel 9. The fourth vision of Daniel occurs in the first year of Darius, Daniel 9:1, in 539 BC. Daniel is still in captivity in Babylon and is ardently praying for the Jews when the angel appears to him and gives him further revelation of things to come in the history of the Jews up to the time of the coming of the Messiah. Notice that Daniel's revelations progress from the first vision, Nebuchadnezzar's dream of the statue, to the second vision, Daniel's dream of the four great beasts, to the third vision, Daniel's open vision of the ram and the he-goat. Gabriel had appeared to Daniel in the third vision and had even touched him physically. Now in the fourth vision, the angel Gabriel appears again. And whiles I was speaking and praying and confessing my sin and the sin of my people Israel, and presenting my supplication before the Lord my God, for the holy mountain of my Lord. Yea, whiles I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation. And he informed me, and talked with me, and said, O Daniel, I am now come forth to give thee skill and understanding. At the beginning of thy supplications the commandment came forth, and I am come to show thee, for thou art greatly beloved. Therefore understand the matter, and consider the vision. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people, and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. The man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning. Daniel had seen Gabriel previously in the third vision in 553 BC. 70 weeks of years, that is, 490 years, are determined until the time of the coming of the Messiah, the Christ. The Hebrew word here for weeks, Shavuyim, is the same as the word for sevens. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. From the going forth of the commandment. From the 7th year of King Artaxerxes in 457 BC, when by his commandment Ezra began the work of completing the restoration of the temple and the city of Jerusalem. Ezra 7. 7 weeks and 62 weeks. From the time of 457 BC, according to the best chronology, there were just 69 weeks of years, 483 years, to the baptism of Jesus Christ in AD 27, when he first began to preach and execute the office of the Messiah. Even in troublous times. This refers to the difficulties, obstacles, and delays that the Jews met in building the city of Jerusalem until they finally rebuilt the wall in the time of Nehemiah. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. After 62 weeks, 62 weeks. Verse 26 does not include the 7 weeks of verse 25, but 7 weeks precedes 62 weeks to equal the 69 weeks of verse 25. During the 7 weeks, the temple, the streets, and the wall of Jerusalem were restored. Shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself? Christ was not cut off for himself, but as an offering to the Jews who rejected him. After 40 years, Matthew 24:34, of hearing the gospel preached by Jesus and his witnesses, the Jewish nation was cut off from God together with the temple offerings. The Hebrew word for not for himself can also be translated will be no more. The word for cut off here relates that the Messiah's death cut off their relationship to God. Paul uses the same language in Romans 11 to describe both the Gentiles and Jews in their relationship with Christ as the olive tree. You will say then, branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. Well said. Because of unbelief they were broken off, and you stand by faith. Do not be haughty, but fear. For if God did not spare the branches, he may not spare you either. Therefore consider the goodness and severity of God on those who fell. On those who fell, severity, but toward you goodness, if you continue in his goodness. Otherwise you also will be cut off. And they also, if they do not continue in unbelief, will be grafted in. For God is able to graft them in again. For if you were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and grafted contrary to nature into a cultivated olive tree, how much more will these, who are natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree? Romans 11:19-24, NKJV. And the people of the prince, the Roman legions under their general Titus, the son of Emperor Vespasian. The war desolations. Titus destroyed Jerusalem and the temple in AD 70. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. In the midst of the week, or in the middle of the week. Christ preached for no more than 3 years, or from AD 27 to 30. Then, by his sacrifice on the cross, he fulfilled the sacrificial requirements of the law. The overspreading of abominations. This refers to the abomination of desolation, the bringing of ensigns and standards of the pagan Romans into the temple. Antiochus Epiphanes of the Seleucids profaned the temple that had been rebuilt in the time of Darius I the Great. Titus, the Roman destroyer of Herod's temple, profaned this obsolete building in AD 70. This destruction manifested the prior profanation of the temple by the Jews who rejected the Messiah. This made God's justice visible to the whole world.